You know, for our whole lives, many of us have been unconsciously giving away our power. In all these little, seemingly harmless interactions, we just hand over control. So today, we're going to talk about how to take it all back. So let's dive right into the core problem. It's this thing we all do, right? We react to people who just don't deserve our energy. We get caught up over explaining ourselves to people who, let's be honest, are never going to get it. We waste so much precious time and mental space, and in doing that, we literally hand them the keys to our own inner peace. All right, so the big question is, how do you take it back? And the answer? Well, it might surprise you. It comes from a sort of Machiavellian playbook that says true power isn't about being the loudest person in the room or fighting every single battle. No, it's about being quiet, being selective, and being just incredibly strategic. Okay, let's get into the first core principle. I want you to start thinking of your attention like currency. Seriously, it's not just focus, it's a finite, incredibly valuable resource. It is the most valuable thing you own, and you have to decide where to invest it.
See, every single time you give someone your attention, whether it's a hater, some online drama, or a critic, you're making an investment. So you have to ask yourself, am I getting a return on this investment? Because if all you're getting back is stress and wasted time, well, that's just a terrible investment, isn't it?
And you can really see the difference here, right? Over on one side, you've got the default mode for most people, reacting to every little thing, getting sucked into drama, defending yourself to critics. But then, on the other side, you have the power player. They don't just give their attention away, no way. They guard it. They filter who gets access, and they simply ignore anyone who's not worthy. And let me be clear, this isn't about being weak. This is pure strategy.
So, who exactly makes it onto this unworthy list? Who do we need to erase from our attention budget? Well, first up, your actual enemies. People who are actively trying to sabotage you. Engaging with them just gives them a platform. Next, the critics. You know the type. They only tear things down, they never build anything up. Reacting to them is like feeding a stray cat. They're just going to keep coming back for more. And finally, maybe the most dangerous of all, the energy parasites. The ones who just drain you with their constant crises and drama. Cutting them out of your attention budget isn't just a good idea, it's an act of self-preservation.
All right, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle, our second principle. A lot of people think silence means you've given up, that it's a sign of weakness. But in the world of power dynamics, that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, silence is often the most aggressive, most powerful move you can make. It's a weapon that literally never misses.
And why is that? Because silence communicates something that words never ever can: complete and total indifference. See, indifference is psychologically devastating to an opponent. It robs them of the one thing they secretly crave from you, which is validation. It shows them, in the clearest possible terms, that they just don't matter.
I mean, this is basically psychological warfare in action. When you just ignore someone, their brain goes into a tailspin. It's like it short circuits. First, they're confused. Then that confusion turns into uncertainty, and that spirals into a full-blown obsession. They get trapped in their own head, replaying everything, desperate for some kind of closure that you are never, ever going to give them. And the whole time, you're just unbothered. You've moved on.
So this brings us to our next major step. It's not enough to just act indifferent by being silent. You have to become indifferent. You need to build this internal armor. This is the key to becoming emotionally untouchable.
Okay, let's be really clear about what I mean by indifference here. This is not about being some cold, emotionless robot. Not at all. It's about mastery. It's about having complete control over what gets to affect you. It's like building an inner fortress so strong that all the chaos from the outside world, the opinions, the insults, all that drama, it just can't get in.
So, where do you start? The very first step, and it's absolutely crucial, is self-awareness. You have to ask yourself honestly, what are my emotional triggers? What's that one thing that someone can say that makes you instantly angry or defensive? What makes you feel that burning need to explain yourself? You have to know what those are, because those triggers, they're the cracks in your armor, and believe me, other people will find them and they will exploit them.
Just think about some of these common ones, right? Somebody calls you lazy. Do you feel that immediate need to list off everything you've ever accomplished? Or what about being misunderstood? Does that send you into these long, rambling explanations to try and set the record straight? How about feeling disrespected? Does that make you lash out? See, people find these weak spots, and they push those buttons to control you, whether they're even doing it consciously or not. And really, this is the ultimate endgame. When you get to a place where those triggers just don't work on you anymore. When someone's insult or disrespect says way more about them than it does about you, that's when you seal up those cracks in your armor. And at that point, you become impossible to manipulate. Why? Because there are no buttons left for them to push.
Okay, now for our final and I think most advanced concept. This is about becoming truly untouchable. Not by doing more, but by mastering the power of calculated inaction. It's all about winning by simply refusing to play their game.
I think most of us are taught to follow the path on the left here. That power comes from constant action, from fighting every single battle, from always trying to prove your worth. But the real Machiavellian path, the path of real power, is often about doing less. It's about understanding that some battles are won by just not showing up. It's about conserving your precious energy for the things that actually matter.
Let me give you a really practical example of how this works. Okay, so a rumor starts about you. Someone is spreading lies. Your gut reaction, your instinct, is probably to panic, right? To get out there and defend yourself. But instead, you practice calculated inaction. You do nothing. You just keep your head down and focus on your work. So what happens? Well, over time, the lies start to fade away because they just don't line up with the reality of who you are and what you do. Your character itself becomes your best defense. And just like that, you've won without ever even entering the battlefield. This is really the art of winning by doing absolutely nothing. It's about letting your enemies burn themselves out. It's about letting certain problems just solve themselves and achieving a kind of dominance without ever needing a confrontation. I mean, this is power in its purest, most efficient form.
So there you have it. The principles are pretty straightforward, right? Guard your attention like it's your most valuable currency. Use silence as your sharpest weapon. Build that internal armor of indifference, and master the art of calculated inaction. The power that you've been giving away for years, it's now back in your hands. So the only real question left is, what are you going to do with it?